Life can sometimes feel chaotic, uncertain, and even downright confusing. We face moments when nothing seems to make sense and the road ahead feels more like a maze than a path. But in the midst of all that, one truth remains solid: God has a plan. This isn't just a comforting thought, it's a fundamental belief that God is in control. Even when things appear to be falling apart, He isn't caught off guard by our situation. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 reminds us of this when God says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." One of the hardest parts about believing that God has a plan is trusting Him when we don't have all the details yet. It's like looking at a piece of a puzzle, just one small fragment, while God sees the whole picture. Our natural reaction is to question, worry, and try to take control. But part of living a life of faith is surrendering that control to God and believing that He's already worked out the details. Remember Joseph? He was sold into slavery by his brothers, thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit, and forgotten for years. But despite all the twists and turns, Joseph never lost sight of God's bigger plan. In the end, Joseph became a powerful leader in Egypt, and when his brothers finally came to him, Joseph said something remarkable: "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." Genesis 50 verse 20. God's plan had been at work all along, even through Joseph's suffering. God's timing is perfect. Another aspect of trusting God's plan is accepting His timing, which can often be a struggle. We are used to things happening instantly. Instant gratification is the name of the game, but God doesn't work on our timetable. He is not rushing to meet our deadlines or scrambling to fix things on our schedule. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." Sometimes we may feel like God is taking too long, but what we might perceive as a delay is actually God's perfect timing. Maybe He's preparing us for what's coming next, building our character, or aligning circumstances for something we can't yet see. At the core of believing that God has a plan is trusting in His goodness. It can be easy to doubt God's goodness when life feels heavy, but the Bible repeatedly reminds us that God is good and that His intentions for us are rooted in love. Romans 8 verse 28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of all those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." God's plan might not always make sense, and it might not always look like what we expected, but He's working everything for our good. Even in the hard times, God is shaping us, growing us, and drawing us closer to Him. His ultimate plan is for us to know Him more and to reflect His love to the world. So what does it look like to live like we believe that God has a plan? It's about walking in faith even when we don't have all the answers yet. It's about surrendering our need to control every outcome and trusting that God is leading us exactly where we need to be. We might not always understand what God is doing, but we can rest in the assurance that He knows exactly what He's doing. Our job is to stay close to Him, trust in Him, and trust in Him in the process, and watch His plan unfold in our lives in ways we never imagined. No matter what season you are in, remember, God has a plan. Even when it doesn't seem clear, He's working it out for your good and His glory. Stay faithful, keep trusting, and let Him guide you every step of the way. Until next time, bye.